We have the opportunity today to make an interview with a comrade from Ukraine, which now he's a visitor here in Greece. He's a political soldier of Ukrainian National Socialist Resistance. The name of comrade is Igar. Igar, I want to thank you for your time to speak to the blog of Black Lily and the Greek comrades.
I admire very much, this time I spent in Greece, and I admire very much the Greek comrades and their struggle for their country and for our white race.
At first I want to ask you about the situation of our days in Ukraine. How is the situation at the main front, Lugansk and the region of Donetsk? What is going on there? What is the situation between the Ukrainian forces and the separatists?
The situation there is quite hard in reality, because now we don't have some quite big fights with artillery, but anyway, every day, every 2 or 3 days, some Ukrainian soldiers are getting shot by separatists, and as well also separatists getting shot. We have to deal with this hybrid war, and no one knows when this will end. But we struggle for our independence, for our nation, against these neo-Bolsheviks and against this Russian imperialism, which is another part of Zion coin. And if we talk about the situation in Ukraine and whole, it's very hard, economical situation. Now we are appearing to be maybe one of the poorest countries in Europe, and really a lot of people, they are simple people, they are starving, they need to fight for their lives, to be alive.
Secondly, I want to ask you about Maidan. As the Greek comrades know, you took part in Maidan riots. Can you tell us a little things about this time?
Yes, it was a very prominent time for Ukrainian nation and for Ukrainian people, and also for our movement. When the Maidan started, a lot of comrades decided to take part in it, and they decided to fight for Ukraine and for Ukraine nationalism and our traditional values. And we were not fighting there for some kind of joining the European Union or other bullshit, to say bad words. And there were really heavy fights there with the police forces of Berkut and the whole post-communist system. And there were a lot of comrades which was shut down, and besides the comrades, besides the nationalists, national socialists, there were also a lot of victims between simple people who only went for Maidan to stand for their rights. So we don't like this word that Euromaidan. It was the main impulse in the Maidan was the nationalistic impulse, and the main forces who was attacking that system was the forces of Ukrainian patriots, nationalists, national socialists. And they made a real great job to fall the Yanukovych regime. This is the truth. What maybe other you want to ask? Maybe to give me in some.
Yes. Okay. We heard in the past some rumors that the Ukrainian forces are against the Greek minority in Ukraine. Can you tell us the truth about this matter?
Yes. One second. In fact, there are a lot of Greeks which are fighting on the side of Ukraine, and really Ukrainian forces are securing this area near the ethnic, Greek villages. There are also comrades with Greek origin who are fighting in the regiment Azov, who are also fighting in the armed forces of Ukraine. And Ukrainians always had respect for Greece, for Greek people which living there for the centuries, and how they are our blood brothers. And there was no attack for some Greek villages or for some people of the Greek origin because they were Greek. Yes, maybe it was some cases, but these people could take the side of separatists only because of that. There is no ethnical cleansing, something like that. And really, our comrades, we needed to fight hard to stay on that ground, on that area of Mariupol, on that areas where there are a lot of Greek villages, not to left these bandits, these Russian neo-Bolshevik forces, these separatists, to went on these territories and to make their robberies and other very bad things.
As we know here in Greece, the right-wing party of Golden Dawn supports the Zionist regime of Kremlin. But many Greek comrades who are national socialists support the Azov forces and right sector. What do you think for all these situation and what's your message for the leadership of Golden Dawn?
I think Russia and Kremlin had spent very lot of money for the propaganda and to take rule on the right wing and also the left wing forces all over the Europe, and this is reality. This is the same as made with National Front of Marine Le Pen and other organization. Also, the Kremlin agents want to make the conflict between Poles and Ukrainians, and they are operating all over the Europe. And also, really, they had the same agentura that they had during Soviet times, this KGB agentura, and I understand why some Greek people believe that Russia have right in this war, because they think that is some kind how Russia is an alternative to the United States, but it is no. It is the same, the another side of the same coin. This is anti-national regime. This is multinational and multiracial state. The Russian people, really Russian people, white people, don't have the rights there. The level, I say about Russia, the level of immigration is very high, and in reality, one of the targets of the Kremlin regime to damage the Russian nation, to kill this. They need some kind how it was in the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union it was the aim to establish the Soviet man as a kind of the new nation, and the Kremlin regime now has the aim to establish the Россиянин. It's look like the citizen of the Russia without any nationality. So this is the truth, and in reality, if we would say about Russians, Kremlin, because Russians, there are a lot of good people there and a lot of good comrades who also support Ukraine, who also fight the Kremlin regime. If you take the Russian parliament and take the very lot of Russian officials of very top, of very high level, you will discover that their children learning in the USA, learning in Poland and very other countries. And also they are citizens of the United States of America and the citizens of the European Union. And it is widely known. So how it would be, the conflict between Russia and America if the children of Russian officials are the, citizens of America. It's a very funny thing. So maybe some other questions or more detail on some position I can stop.
You have a clear message for the members of Golden Dawn because we know that most of them are believing the lies of the leadership of Golden Dawn of Nikos Michalogiakos. You have a message for the members about the situation in Ukraine. What you have to tell them?
I think the main message in this situation with a lot of propaganda and so on, is to believe their heart and try to look from another side, and also if somehow they have some relatives on Ukraine or friends, is to ask them what is really situation is going. Greeks are not enemies of Ukrainian people. We was living with Greek people in one state during the centuries. Our cultures are very close united, and I believe Ukrainians and Greeks have the same aim to preserve their nation, to preserve their race, and to live in an independent state which is not controlled by the Kremlin, European Union, the USA, and so on. This I can say to Greek people. And also I think some matter is because of propaganda of Kremlin that, if you touch on some Russian Orthodox Church, yes, which is also plays a big role in Kremlin propaganda. Some kind of how Russian Orthodox Church is saying to all over the world, all over the Orthodox people in other countries, that Ukrainians some kind of how are traitors of Orthodox faith. But it's not a reality, because Ukrainians have their own Orthodox Church, which wants very much to be independent from Russia Orthodox Church, and Ukrainian Orthodox people want.
So, Comrade Igar, I want to ask you something else. Can you tell us some things about, some information about the forces of the invasion forces? If you have Russian forces in the eastern Ukraine, if there are some Chechens, or members of mafia, or the old guard of the Soviet Communist Party. Can you tell us some things about this?
Yes. In reality, there are Russian military troops in Ukraine, and some kind of Putin also said about this on his press conference. If you want, you can check this. He said that we didn't said that there are no Russian militaries in Ukraine. We say now that there are some Russian militaries that are making some military businesses in Ukraine. But the reality is that in the most heavy battles in the Ukrainian front, in the Donetsk airport, the Baltseva, and many other places, the main role was the role of the Russian forces. These Russian forces is not volunteers who came to save the Russian world there and to fight against fascists. They are saying they're real Russian troops. And now all the control of operation is under the Russian officers. And also we say we have some centers which control the situation in the front line. And these centers are consisted from two sides of the war. And in reality, there are Russian officers and Ukrainian officers. There are no, separatist officers. So it's also said that the Russia side of the control. It's not look like the civil war as they want this to appear. Yes, there are local people who are participating in these separatist troops of how they call this Donetsk People Republic and Lugansk People Republic. But they are not the main forces. They are leading by the Russians, and also there are very many criminals. On that areas, Russians opened the gates of the prisons and left it these prisoners to fight for them. And as well, there are a lot of, as I've said before, as Russia, is a multinational state, there are a lot of Chechens and Ingushetians and many others nationalities from Caucasus. And also they are responsible for some hard war crimes. And this is the truth in reality. If you say about the whole situation, they wanted to set this war before, but they chose the moment which is more suitable for them. They chose the moment where inside Russia they didn't have any opposition, Putin didn't have any opposition, and they chose the moment when the Ukraine was there in weak position. Because the first episode when they taken Crimea, in reality it was after the rebel, where the reality there was no one really to get fight with them. And also they made this with Donbass, and it was look like the push to the back of Ukrainians. It was very coward in reality, and such things are.
I want also to ask you about the political situation in the Russian Federation. What about the witch hunt of the National Socialist comrades there, about the assault from the police, from the state of police? What about these accusations against the political prisoners, I mean the Russian political prisoners? What do you know about this matter?
The situation is quite hard there, because very lot of comrades are imprisoned, though mainly those comrades who are imprisoned for direct action, but not only for direct action. There are very lot of people who are imprisoned for the thought crimes. In Russia they have this part of the criminal codex is the 208.2, it's called. And it is used, as they say, to fight the extremists. But in reality this is used to fight the Russian National Socialists and Russian nationalists. Sometimes the situation there is so hard that comrades who want to save their honor need to get committed suicide. There is the truth. The most prominent figures of Russian resistance, as Nikola Korolev and other comrades, will be, I thought that they will not be, but they are accused for staying in the prison for the whole life. And there was a very big fight against NS before this situation in Ukraine. But now somehow they wanted to use, these protest movements as also the National Socialists and they wanted to turn them to help in this imperial politics. But you know, mainly 90% of comrades with whom we was in contact before this situation, before the Maidan, before the war, they are on our side. The 10%, yes, they took another side, or they are saying this is not our war, and so on and so on. And also, a lot of real Russian nationalists tried to come and sometimes reached them to come to Ukraine to fight in the Ukrainian volunteer battalions against the Kremlin regime. And this is also truth.
So in eastern Ukraine, the last time we saw many battles with all the European brothers side by side, like in the all the times of Waffen-SS. So the history is again here, with different roles, but with the same struggle against another imperialistic power. Tell us little things about these heroic times of the Ukrainian forces and the comrades from Europe.
You mean this new war or the war of Second World War?
I mean for the modern time, for the European comrades that are taking part in the fronts side by side with the Ukrainian people.
We had comrades from Britain, from Sweden, from Croatia, and from other countries. There are also some comrades from Greece, which were in the regiment, and comrades who was taking the part in this military operation of Shirokina. These people, our comrades, see this situation, and they decided to help Ukraine, to help Ukrainian people to fight this neo-Bolshevik threat. And it is really was very look like the time of the Second World War. And also some comrades went to Ukraine also to gain the military experience, then to fight in the future upcoming conflicts, which will be 100%. And even some comrades now are trying to get the Ukraine.
Here in Greece there is a propaganda about the Ukrainian National Socialist comrades that they are supporting the regime of Poroshenko. What can you tell us for that?
In reality, this is not truth, because we see how Poroshenko appeared, and Ukrainian nationalists didn't support him from the first beginning. And Poroshenko is also very scared about the nationalist forces in Ukraine, because he thinks that nationalists can take power from his hands and start to build real Ukraine for Ukrainians and Ukraine for white people. But some kind how he couldn't make the repressions, full repressions. There are some repressions, there are some comrades which are getting in jail. There are a lot of courts against the nationalists even now during the regime of Poroshenko. But he couldn't, push everyone in the jail. And one of the main reasons is, if now we'll start the quite heavy military action with Russia, there will be no this force to make a resistance to it. So he gets this situation. So we struggle in reality in two fronts. One front is inside Ukraine against this regime, which is reality is appearance of the previous regime. Reality, many officials was changed through that times, and in reality there are very lot of traitors inside the parliament, inside of the cabinet of ministers, and so on. And also the things this war started. If the war was not started, and Russia will not take the Crimea and attack Donbass, Ukrainian nationalists after Maidan could make the illustration of dirty policemen, dirty judges, and so on. And in reality, we started doing this, but suddenly, Russia struck us. I want to wish the Greek comrades to keep on fighting for their country, for their race. And after the darkest time will become the light. And also I want to mention something. Our comrades from the Azov regiment have the signs with Molon Labe on their armor. And there was some kind of symbol when Russia attacked Mariupol. So we said to them, Molon Labe.